Hello and welcome back to the Titan Press Podcast.
Oh, dear.
My name is Justin Freed, and that was my attempt at an April Fool's joke. Titan Press Podcast. I'm wearing this is a Chiga Okonkwo Tennessee Titans jersey. That was more for me. That was more for me. I did not tell either of you guys that I was going to do that.
Well, it's a good bit when you give up on it 5 seconds after you do it.
I saw your face, and you were like, he wasn't wearing that like a minute and a half ago. What the hell happened?
What kind of a magic trick is this? Penn and Teller Act.
But yeah, welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. I'll take this off in a moment. I do have a shirt underneath, I promise.
Oh, thank God.
But my name is Justin Freed, and I'm joined as always by my good friend Mike Luciano. But Mike, we also have a special guest today, and I'm sorry to this is your introduction to the show. But we're welcomed by, I should have asked you to pronounce your name. I think I know it. It's Charlie Baduini, right?
Yeah, no, actually that's a great job. Great job.
All right. Well, welcome, Charlie. How are both of you guys doing today? What's going on, folks?
Doing good. April 1st. So just trying to get past some of those bad jokes you see online. Not yours, Justin. That was a good one. I like that a lot.
Yes.
And very timely as well, considering the news.
Look, you don't need to be the teacher's pet on your first.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, buddy. Charlie, for those who don't know, Charlie has been helping us out a lot on the Jet Press recently. Joined the site in the last couple of months, I believe, doing a lot of the writing, editing on the site side of stuff while we've been handling some video stuff. So happy to have him now here in the podcast space, here in the video side, and we need him today because we are going to be doing a special March Madness edition of the Jet Press Podcast. We did this last year, I think, was it worst moments of the Aaron Rodgers era?
The worst moments of the Aaron Rodgers era. That was Madden ratings and Michael Nania getting Tony Adams benched. And as Justin said on that show, I went and rewatched that actually, and he had a pretty good comment where if this happened for most teams in the span of like 10 years, that would be, wow, this is dysfunctional. And this happened in like a year and a half. Yeah. All of these 16 things happened in a year and a half. The red line incident, all these great
Yep. It was a nice stroll down memory lane. We're going to do a similar thing today where we're going to be looking at the top draft busts in Jets history. And there's a lot of those. Mike, you were the one that put this bracket together. So
I got 16 and I had to make some decisions on who to take out of there. There were some tough judgment calls. I have an honorable mention list. Kyle Wilson is not in the 16. That is how low I had to scrape the bottom of the barrel here. Kellen Clemens is not in the 16. So that should tell you something. Kellen Clemens is like an era-defining blunder for a lot of franchises. For the Jets, we don't even remember it. Thank you guys for tuning in, though. You know where to find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there, as Justin disrobes very quickly. You can also find us on YouTube. So you want to help support the show. Really, it is just a business thing to get us up the algorithm. You can like the stream. You can subscribe. All those things help. If you have the ability to hype the video, you can do that. Let's get into it. Before we get into the March Madness festivities, maybe we'll have more success in this one because I only got one of the Final Four teams right in my bracket. Arizona, who I have in the championship, winning the championship. So that's all I care about now is
I was also a Duke picker.
Yeah, we both had Duke. Did not.
I had Duke losing in the championship to Arizona. So,
well.
At least I wasn't watching that game. I was like driving, so I couldn't experience all the pain. Anthony Rulo with $5. Salute, gents. Feelings on Glenn's comments about the playoff drought. We'll get right into that.
Yes.
Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn both spoke at the owners' meetings. And Muji, in refreshing taste, he's very boring, but I want boring. I want my GM to be very boring and very bland. Joe Douglas was getting drunk at events promising Aaron Rodgers trades. Like, this is a bit of a change from that. So, but it's a lot of stuff you'd expect, we might add a receiver, we might not. Will McDonald's pretty good. We might pick up the 5th-year option. Nothing really earth-shattering. Then Aaron Glenn comes in, and in Aaron Glenn fashion, he'll probably say 6 things. 5 of them are pretty boilerplate. One of them's a little too confident, and that's what gets memed. Like the whole superpower comment about his defensive play calling. This time around, as Rufo points out, he had a really good comment that I liked about the playoff drought. And that's one of those things where it's like, I get being skeptical of Aaron Glenn, but to root for this guy's downfall, like this means something to, he cares so much about trying to fix the Jets because he is a Jet. As a player, He's always going to be a Jet primarily. He wants to get this right. So when I see comments like what he said about the playoff drive, about how hard he's taken this and how much it means to him, the kind of stuff I like to hear, and it endears you. But of course, nobody remembers that. They just remember Geno Smith's going to take us to the promised land. And look, is it hyperbolic? Of course. That's not even a question. I will say this, though, too. I don't ban chat members. If you saw that and your first comment was, oh, the promised land, the #1 pick, an instant, I can't take that hacky.
You're blocking half of Jets Twitter.
I know. It was just so I could see it coming. It was just, you're hitting the ball off a tee at that point.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was over the top. Genuinely, what is he supposed to say? I think Geno Smith will be average. I think Geno Smith can win 8 games. Like, it's brash in a way. And I get being brash is cooler when you won. Look at Rex Ryan. He was awesome when he was winning. Those first then the joke got kind of played out. It wasn't as fun. Like, I get all that. I really can't bring myself to have too much of a problem with Aaron Glenn talking like this, because I'd rather him be confident than him be milquetoast, because that shows me if he was kind of milquetoast and boring and kind of hedging his bets, that last year kind of got to him when he's playing it safe. If you're a confident guy, be confident. Be who you are.
Yeah, Anthony with another super chat here. Thanks again for these super chats, Anthony. We much appreciated. He said also the Italian guy saying my last name right. We got a lot of Italian representation right now because we got Luciano and we got Baduini. And I mean, I'm over here with the Jewish last name free, but my mom's maiden name is Tucci. So we got
we're all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, listen, my mom's side of the family, I got a lot of Italians on that side of the family.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Holidays are a very Italian festivity in my family. But yeah, I look, the second I saw the Promised Land quote, we knew that was the one that was going to go viral, which there was a really good tweet. I forget who said it. So I can't give credit here. I'm sorry, but there was a really good tweet that was like, Muji always says 2 sentences less than he probably needs to. And Glenn always says 2 sentences more than he probably should. And I feel like that was very true for this week, where Darren Muji, right before the show, Charlie, I was like, did Muji even say anything interesting? Like, was there anything that he said that was, notable for us to even talk about? And the answer was really no. Glenn, there's always going to be something. And what sucks is that Promised Land comment was in the midst of a broader answer that he was giving on Geno Smith, where he talks about how Geno has this chip on his shoulder, and he clearly thinks the world of Geno, both as a person and as a player. And unfortunately, just in the midst of that 45-second answer, he says one little, 4-second clip, 3-second clip where he's like, yeah, he's going to take us to the Promised Land. And then he keeps going on. Like it was an offhand remark that almost felt like a slip of the tongue. Cause I don't think no one is going to say that Aaron Glenn genuinely believes Geno Smith is going to lead the Jets to a Super Bowl in 2026.
But you also, as a coach, every year, no matter how bad you're, they say, oh, the goal's always a Super Bowl. Like, right. They always say things like that.
It's enhanced coach speak is how I would describe it. Now, I will say, and this, I don't give a shit, right? I don't give a shit about what Aaron Glenn is saying. It's going to have no bearing on whether the Jets succeed or don't succeed in 2026. Wins will, right? If they're winning games, no one's going to care about this. But I do think that he is maybe not continuing a trend, because it's a little different. Like last year, I felt like he was a little too combative probably with the media, and probably went into the summer a little too cocky, a little too much moxie, right? All the coaching stuff where it's like, oh, what was the issue with this player? Why couldn't they do this? Coaching. And he kept repeating that for a lot of different situations. It feels a little different this year, where he's not as cocky about it, but he's still saying more than he probably should. And I'll liken it back to what he said in the end of February too, where he said that play calling was his superpower. That's an offhand remark that really shouldn't matter. But the second the Jets defense gives up 35 points in a game next year, what are all the headlines going to be? So I think when he's saying stuff like this, I don't even know if he cares, right? But he is indirectly making his job just a little bit harder than it needs to be, just in terms of handling the media. I don't think it's, this thing that we should have some sort of whole, we shouldn't be having an entire discussion about how this impacts him as a coach and his future with the team. But it is just, it's making his job a little bit harder, and it probably can be avoided. I don't know if he cares, but that's my take on it.
So one of the bigger things that stuck out to me from yesterday, and it wasn't even that, like, of course, the national media is going to take every chance they can to dunk on the Jets. It's how it's been for the last, you name it, 2 decades, playoff drought, 15 years, whatever. But what was interesting to me was the Jets reporters, the beat, who, Justin, as you mentioned, was very, they were bashing heads, them and Glenn, all last year, and weekly press conferences and training camp, all that stuff. Is the main takeaway coming out of it wasn't, oh, he said this about Geno Smith, oh, he said this, was, oh, Glenn's actually kind of, opening up a little bit more. You know what I mean? He's not as keeping his cards close to the vest. He's, kind of trying to talk about, what his plan is, what he's going to do to try and improve what went wrong last year. So, it's Glenn's going to be Glenn, but I think there is definitely still a step in the right direction there that shows that he's not necessarily going to do a full 180 on how he approaches being a head coach and addressing the media, but he's taking steps in the direction to maybe try and get these guys not necessarily on his side, but just to cover him in a more, I don't know, reasonable light, I guess I'd say. You know what I mean?
See, because the thing is, I don't want to say it's splitting hairs, but like if he had said calling plays on defense is something I'm pretty good at and like doing, instead of just the word superpower, like that one bit of language in there, I don't think he knows just how much that little bit of language will go crazy on social media, because he doesn't seem like a guy to me at all.
And the thing is, I don't
on Twitter or anything like that. So I don't think he understands how his words are going viral. I don't think he cares either. But that's the problem with me too, Charlie, is like everybody around, because the media, I don't want to say they were out to get Glenn. That's too harsh, but I don't think they were on his side for a lot of last year. And then they're talking to him at the meetings. They're like, oh, this is a different guy. He's more open. He's a little more jovial. And of course, I'm not asking everybody to drill down into local Jets reporting if you're not a Jets fan, but of course, nobody sees that. Yeah, it makes you weird to stand for a guy who's 3-14 and is projected to win like 6 or 7 games this year. But like, if you're gonna make fun of the Jets, like do it right at least. Like have some honor in how you make fun of the Jets. Don't always just take the low hanging fruit here.
It was annoying to see everybody make the exact same joke of, oh, by promised land he means Arch Manning, and then like a million people said it, and the millionth person still thought they were the first person to make that joke. And I'm like, okay, man, it's not that creative.
Very original.
It's not that funny. Yeah. Few comments we get to
with $5 before we get to veteran Jet fan. He literally and figuratively unbuttoned his shirt a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
Of his best presser since he became the head coach.
Dude, he did look really chill.
He was in such a good mood. Like he came in there, he was smiling. Dude was geeking out, talking about Geno Smith as his quarterback. I'm like, he woke up on the right side of the bed today.
If you didn't have to coach Justin Fields, you'd be happy too.
Listen, he was in Phoenix. I'm sure it was nice and sunny. It was hot out. He's been living in New Jersey. Like, not as great here. Weather has been, hit or miss a lot of the winter. He was letting his guard down. Good for him. Good for Aaron Glenn. Few comments let's get to. Veteran Jet fan said, I own the Jets Glenn jersey. Love him as a player. He's been horrible as a head coach, but I pray that he gets this right, because it would mean that much more. Absolutely. And I believe that was something he said earlier, was like, if you're rooting for Glenn to fail, you're not a Jets fan. Like, you just want to be right at that point. There is unfortunately a subset of Jets fans who want to be right more than they want to see Aaron Glenn succeed.
A couple of them have a lot of Twitter followers.
Yeah, there's some prominent voices, that's for sure. He also said Glenn talks like a 90s coach and player. That's because that's what he was, of course. That's how football players talked through decades ago. And then he also said Glenn made fun of the media when Arian Smith had a good practice. Glenn mocked them for criticism of the Smith pick. Yeah, it does feel like they came in with this, and by they, I really mean Aaron Glenn, with this unearned bravado, right? And I don't want to be too harsh on him for that, but if you're that cocky, you got to back it up. And the Jets won 3 games last year, and they started 0-7. It's hard when you talk all that talk in the summer, and you talk all this talk about how your coaching is going to help fix things and make things better than they were, and you kind of take subtle shots at the previous regime, and then you start 0-7, and your hand-picked quarterback, again, they didn't expect Fields to be the guy, but they expected him to be better than he was last year. To see the way he struggled, it didn't reflect well on the coaching staff. That's for sure.
Speaking of the past regime, Charlie, what on earth is Robert Saleh doing on 2 fronts? Number one, before the show, he signs Michael Carter. I've been keeping a running tally. 18 former either Jets or Giants players or coaches are on the Titans now.
There's actually
all the Giants
one more.
Offensive coaches from Daboll. It's all the defensive coaches from the Jets and defensive players. Rufo for $10 super chat. Shout out. Aspen needs to take a zit and chill. He's always been very nice to us. Jake Aspen has, but
Jake's always been a great dude to us. Look,
I think some of the fans in his chat can go a little overboard sometimes.
For sure. So, I will always say this. I never want to please fandom. There's many different ways to be a fan, and there's a lot of people like Jake who enjoy watching the sport like that. And I will never criticize them for that and blame them for that. Again, Jake's always been great to us too. But, yeah, so sometimes just, sometimes maybe some fans need to relax. I get that. By the way, Mike, you're missing someone because the Titans also signed today Jets legend Lance McCutcheon, who was with the Jets for 2 summers.
All right, that doesn't count.
It counts. It counts.
19. All right.
Because it's funnier if it counts. So, and it's even funnier too because he retired a few months ago, which also, like, who was keeping track on the Lance McCutcheon retirement tour? Like, who's paying attention to that? But he retired and then came out of retirement just to reunite with Robert Saleh in Tennessee. So it's 19 if we're keeping tally.
So, Charlie, first off, your thoughts on kind of what Saleh's building here, because before we get to his comments here, I always said, like, this could work if he learned his lesson from the Jets mistake. I don't think he learned his lesson. I think he's doubling down and becoming even more kind of isolated, and I got to bring in my guys.
Yeah, so I get it on the front of like the John Franklin Myerses of the world. You know what I mean? Like the guys who are still productive, still great players, but these fringe roster guys that he insists on having. His biggest problem in New York was the culture. I mean, he was billed to be this culture resetter and brought in to build it from the ground up. But as his tenure progressed, things just got more and more rotten. And there's a lot of factors that played into it. But it ultimately falls on the coach and the guy who's in the locker room every day leading these guys. And if he's bringing these guys in who suffered with him through those terrible back end of the Jets years.
The mopers, we call them, the Saleh mopers.
Yes, the mopers are like if the Titans start 0-3, 0-4, because they're not world beaters. They got a lot of solid free agent talent. But what happens if they start losing and things start going bad? Is it, same old Titans? We're just going to curl up in a ball and, woe is me? Like, it doesn't seem like he learned, honestly, anything from his Jets tenure. And obviously we'll be proven wrong if they hit the ground running. But to me, it just doesn't seem like that's the most likely outcome in the world. Huh?
Hey, listen, don't be dissing my Titans, all right? Don't be dissing my Chig's not even there anymore. Chig Okonkwo is not even with the Titans, so maybe I don't have to support them anymore.
Yeah, why do you have that?
Have I not told the story? I'm not going to tell it now, but it's fantasy football related.
Oh, okay.
Flash. Incredible superstition deities.
I had a Broncos Emmanuel Sanders jersey for the same reason way back when I was in high school.
There you go. So. Well, this wasn't. It's not your typical like this guy won me my league. It's a whole thing, but it was either this or I have a Sacramento Kings De'Aaron Fox jersey. So I was like, do I want to stick with football here, or do I want to go with a Fox jersey? By the way, I signed De'Aaron Fox Sacramento Kings jersey. Yeah.
Let's go and put our detective hats on. We'll be whatever the Pink Panther got, Clouseau, I think his name was, or
Clouseau.
Inspector Poirot from the Agatha Christie. Let's be detectives here.
Sure.
Or Sherlock if you want to go.
Yeah, but then who's what's Sherlock's buddy's name?
Watson.
Who's Sherlock? Well, there's 3 of us now, so
so that doesn't work. So yeah, we got
there's 2 Sherlocks and 1 Watson.
Watson 2. So Robert Saleh, first off, the master culture builder, gives a lecture on building culture and how to do it. And basically, it seems pretty average. Just a comment about how you need to be a little careful in the draft because sometimes guys with character concerns can manifest and ruin the talent that they have. Mm-hmm. And then he says a line, paraphrasing, which was basically, you learn your lesson a pretty hard way with ways like this. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you can figure it out. And I believe he's talking about his Jets tenure. And there's 3 guys who could fit the bill, primarily. And it's draft-wise, so it's not like Rodgers. It's Mekhi Becton, Zach Wilson, and Elijah Moore. Now, I don't think it's Becton because Robert Saleh didn't draft him. He inherited him, although Becton certainly was not this paragon of culture building with his whole left tackle thing and I only playing 1 game in 2 years and apparently, after he got his option picked up, using that money to buy a bunch of donuts and not improving his conditioning.
Mike, I was about to say I'm proud of you because you brought it back then and didn't make a fat joke. And
it's a time.
There it is.
So, and then Zach Wilson, look, obviously he was not very good. We'll get into him a little bit more later. His teammates didn't seem to like him, the whole Mike F. and White t-shirt thing, but he seems more, for lack of a better word, kind of annoying and a little bit more of like a pissant than anything like some sort of toxic guy who's going to drag anything down. It just seems like he can kind of rub people the wrong way because of some immaturity that he had because he was so young. This sounds like Elijah Moore.
Yep.
Because they drafted him high, basically a first-round pick, 34, second pick of the second round. That's as high as you're going to get in the second round almost. They thought he was going to be a key piece. The last time we felt anything good about this team during the season, they won 4 straight games. They're 5-2. And then I'm going to go request a trade, and nothing good has happened on the field since then. And actually, it's worked out terribly for both sides. The Jets didn't use the picks they got from the trade very well. Outside of that half year of Devontae Adams, they haven't had a wide receiver 2 behind Garrett Wilson since that trade. And Elijah Moore goes to the Browns, still has not had 700 yards receiving in a season, and had 9 catches last year with the Bills. He didn't get his wish. He got more catches, but it was on the Browns, so equally bad team. I think he went to the playoffs the one year, but then they crashed right after that. Nope, it didn't work out for anybody. This seems like Elijah Moore. It seems like a guy who that's when it all went wrong. Because Saleh had something and was building and building and building and building. And then Elijah Moore, and everything's going great, says, I want out. And that they never got off the mat from that.
Yeah, I agree. Veteran Jet fan said it sounds like a shot at Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore was selfish during a team winning streak. He yelled at the OC and was bitching. Yeah, not only he
Vinicius Cristello too. Could it be Corley? Corley seems like a 3rd round pick seems a little to make that grandiose a statement about. It seems like Elijah Moore, because you could take risks on guys in the 3rd round. High 2nd round pick is they want this guy to be here for a while. So I think that might be an Elijah Moore shot.
Corley makes more sense to me than Becton, because like you said, Becton wasn't drafted by Saleh. So if Saleh's talking about past regrets that he had taking a player with and as Brian said in chat, I don't think Becton had character concerns as a prospect, at least not publicly. Yeah, that was nothing that I don't remember that.
He didn't get along with, he hasn't gotten along with every coaching staff he's been on. So that's.
Yeah. But it wasn't like something that I think with Elijah Moore, there was some talk about that. Because Elijah Moore is the guy who did the
peeing celebration.
Yeah. Not that that's like, sent him to prison, right? But that's something, right? And I'm sure that's something
in the big rivalry game too. That was the Mississippi State rivalry game.
In the Egg Bowl, yeah. So there was some stuff out there about Elijah Moore, and when Saleh was talking about a regret that he had, because specifically how the question was phrased was like, have you had history with drafting a player that maybe you knew there was character concerns and you still did it anyway? That was kind of the question that was asked him. And he was like, yeah, like this has happened before, and you live and learn. You learn from mistakes. And it was a guy we took early in the draft. I won't say who it is, but you could figure it out. That sounds like Elijah Moore to me.
It's not EVD, so it's not Garrett Wilson.
Right, especially because you have to remember that was Saleh's first draft with the Jets. So it's not like that regime had, I know Joe Douglas was still there, but as far as the coaching staff goes, they didn't have months and months and months in preparation for this draft and a year of preparation to look at this, to analyze this class. It was a few months. And in situations like that, you're probably going to be more prone to take chances on guys whose talent you just love and maybe overlook the character issues a bit more. And I think that is what the Jets did with Elijah Moore. And obviously they regret that. As veteran Jet fan said in chat, not only was he arguing with or shouting at Mike LaFleur, by the way, Mike LaFleur, one of Robert Saleh's best friends. I know Matt LaFleur was best man at his wedding. I'm sure he's very close with Mike LaFleur as well. He told him to fuck off in practice. That's what he said. Or like, fuck you. He said something like that in practice to his coach, and then proceeded to request a trade in the midst of a 3-game winning streak.
4-game winning streak.
Maybe before, it might have been 4 games. Yeah, the Jets were 5-2 when he requested that trade.
What I wouldn't give to say the Jets are 5-2 again.
They won 3 games total last year. I just want to win 5 games in a season to start. But yeah, this all points to Elijah Moore to me. I know people are going to say Becton, but I don't think that makes a ton of sense, because it wasn't a regret Saleh specifically had, because Saleh didn't draft him. And Zach, I don't get the vibe that Saleh and Zach ever fully meshed. I know there's been a lot of reporting out there that says that Robert Saleh wanted to keep Sam Darnold. Funny that stuff comes out obviously after the fact years later. So who knows
when he's doing good. We didn't hear that when he was in
so
San
who knows
Francisco.
how
We didn't hear any of that.
Who knows how much validity to put into that, but I don't get the sense that Saleh ever was fully on the Zach Wilson train. But I don't think it was a situation where Zach was like this clubhouse cancer and Saleh regretted him because of who he was as a person, his character, and any of that. I think Zach just kind of sucked. Right?
He did quit in the middle of the year. He did quit.
Yeah, but I still think it's this reeks of Elijah Moore to me. Charlie, what do you think?
No, I'm with you on the Elijah Moore thing, because I don't know if I know Zach Wilson was voted captain, probably his second and third year or second year on the Jets, but I don't think he was ever really
embraced.
Yeah, like it was never like you know what I mean. So I think more sounds about right. I mean, yeah, the five like I remember that very vividly. It was Rich Cimini reported it after that Packers win. That was so energizing. Sauce walking off the field with the cheese head, and then like that evening, that night, he started tweeting, and it was like, oh, here we go with Elijah Moore, and
here goes negative Rich again. And
yeah,
then,
it was just not a good time there. It's got to be more. Just considering how high he was drafted, and you know, there was, I think it was that whole draft class. I remember being really excited about. It's just in hindsight such a bummer, but also just hilarious. You know, unrelated point that LaFleur had him just in motion for the rest of the season, and like never like targeted him again after that. So he kind of got sent to the doghouse or whatever you want to call it. So
the shadow realm.
Yeah, definitely.
That was his punishment.
So yeah, oh my God. By the way, of that draft, Michael Carter now in the Titans, Jamie Sherwood, possible Titans
could be
target here. Are they going to sign Jonathan Marshall next?
Is he in the UFL? I know you played in spring leagues a little bit. Is he in the UFL right now?
Remember Hamza Nasruddin? I thought he was going to be so good.
I do remember
the other safety turned linebacker, right?
Yeah, I was. Well, he was like supposed to be like a day 2 pick for a while.
He was regarded as like a first round. I think he got hurt and he had a not great year. And then again, there was like weird questions about is he a linebacker, safety? No one knew what to do with him.
Yep.
And then Sherwood ended up just being the better of the two linebacker conference anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get into March Madness. Jets March Madness.
Really quick, this was a good update to that. Brian said Connor Hughes revealed earlier this year that Zach was never actually voted captain. I think I remember this report. The coaches just made him a captain because it would have looked bad for their franchise QB to not be captain.
I mean, Justin Fields was a captain last year.
Yeah, but I believe that,
just always the captain by default now.
I agree. That is true. Was JJ McCarthy was a captain last year?
Yeah.
Right? Which is hilarious because he never played in a game. And, you know, there was already questions about him going into the season. So if you're a starting quarterback, Gino's going to be a captain this year, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Totally. But he's a guy I could see being a captain of his own merit, though.
Do we think Mendoza is going to be a captain in Vegas?
Probably. Oh, totally.
Yeah, even though he's a rookie.
Jets, it's going to be Gino, Demario Davis, Harrison Phillips.
I guess
those are the 3 minimums.
Brissett, captain in Arizona, probably.
Yeah.
He was there last year, so he's got the rep.
Like if your quarterback is not a captain, I think that's
I don't think there's any starting quarterback that would not be a captain, right? Unless for some reason like Aiden O'Connell beats out Fernando Mendoza in the summer, something like that, then I could see like O'Connell wouldn't be a captain. But
that's its own can of worms here.
Yeah, it is.
So let's get into March Madness. These are the 16, in my opinion, biggest busts in Jets history.
A lot to pick from.
I tried to randomize it as best I could. I didn't want like Zach Wilson as a 15 seed, to be perfectly honest, but tried to randomize them as best I could. There are some honorable mentions that got cut, as mentioned. Kellen Clemens, Kyle Wilson is not on there. Mark Sanchez was going to be on it for a little bit.
I vetoed that. I
feel like there's good memories of Mark Sanchez.
He is a bust as Austrian Jet fan with 20 gifted memberships.
What an Austrian Jet fan. We say this every time, man. You are the best. And I promised myself.
Jake Aspen's now a member too, by the way, as a result of that. So.
Hell yeah. Welcome to the
for both of them.
Welcome to the club, Jake. I promised myself too, and I totally forgot that next time Austrian Jet fan donated memberships, I was going to read a fun fact about Austria. And
I thought you were going to say like,
no way, I was going
to have him on the stream or something. You're like, I'm going to say a fact.
I'm going to say a fact. I want to give a shout out to the whole nation of Austria for doing this. Wait, now I'm going to be an asshole. Did Austria make the World Cup? They qualify?
No, Italy didn't either again.
Yeah. Well, I know Italy didn't. Austria really didn't qualify this year? Damn.
I don't think so.
That's unfortunate. All right. Well, fun fact about Austria. The world's oldest zoo, I'm not going to pronounce it because even though I lived in Germany for 3 years, I can't speak German. Is in Austria. It was 1752. It's been open since, which is pretty wild. Also, I'll give you a bonus fun fact because it was 20.
Every multiple of 10, you get another one.
The snow globe was invented in Austria. Fun fact.
Oh wow!
Yeah, look at that.
Shout out Austria.
Yeah, shout out Austria. Thank you so much, Austrian Jet fan.
Also, another honorable mention for this list. I tried to stay away from some of the guys in the AFL era because that was competing drafts and the science was just less advanced then. So, guys would be picked in the first round and never play. George Allen for Washington at the time traded so many draft picks. A trade got nullified because he had already traded the picks in one trade and forgot about it, and nobody caught him on it for a while. So a little bit different.
That's it.
Sean Brun, Tiergarten. So yeah,
Thank you.
Tier is animals, Garten is garden. So animal garden, zoo.
Wow.
Schern is pretty, and Brun is brown. So
you know way more German than I do. That's crazy. How do you know German that much?
I took German for 4 years in high school and 2 years in college.
Okay,
so.
that'll do it. That'll in college. You took German in college.
We had to take a foreign language. So
Maris,
too.
What's up with Maris? That's weird. I didn't have to do that at all.
And also in the honorable mention is a Chew with more memberships. 5 for
Chew. Shout out MF Chew.
Not to be denied.
Unfortunately, I don't know where MF Chew is from, so I can't give a fun fact about
Massapequa or whatever.
Wherever he's from. if he would like to share
Franklin Lakes, I don't know.
Or the surrounding city, I will give a fun fact about it. And I'll Google it really quick.
So another honorable mention was Bill Yearby, who got picked 13th overall in 1966, and he played 9 games and recorded no sacks, and that was it.
We are going to be
13th overall pick.
We are going to be leaning on Mike for the historical context behind some of these names, because full transparency, Charlie and I know most of the names on this list. There was only one name on this entire list. I'll be completely honest. There was one name on this entire list that I had literally never heard of, and that was Russell Carter. If you told me that was a fake name, I would have believed you.
Sounds like a generic name.
It sounds like a generic fake name, right? But every other name I've at least heard of. Some guys like Dave Cadigan or Ron Farrow, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm gonna have
no, hold on.
Oh no, Mike.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay. So I gotta stall for a little bit. Hold on.
Create a bracket or create an account.
Oh no. Okay.
Didn't you do this last year? No.
Yes, but I need to log in. I gotta remember the login live on stream.
While we're doing this, let's stall for a second. Charlie, who is, in your time watching the Jets, who is the draft bust that most, that you remember the most, where you're just like, well, I'll ask it this way. Who was the player that you were like sure was going to be good, or that you really, really wanted to be good, that ended up just being like total dog shit? And we'll ask chat this as well while we're stalling.
Well, I mean, and like off the top of my head, and Jamal Adams was a great player, but I thought he was going to be a franchise player, and he was for a very short term amount of time. But obviously that bridge got burned. I mean, that's kind of a layup. But
go back a little really good.
Yeah, go back a little bit further. Definitely one of those cornerbacks, Kyle Wilson, D. Milner, because it was like, Milner was fresh off Revis leaving, so everyone was like, oh, this guy's going to be the replacement. Like he's going to be the guy who takes over the mantle of, Milner Island. And he was just terrible. I remember he was one of the first football players, and I hope he's not listening to this or watching this, because I don't want to be mean or anything, but he was one of the first football players who I remembered watching getting drafted. And then a few years later, seeing him pop up on like social media and being like fat. And I was like, oh my God, like
what happened?
This is what happens to pro football players who don't, make it in the league. Like they just kind of fall out, and they're just,
yeah. This is why we need the UFL. It's a support system so that players don't get fat. That's why we really have it.
First, one thing I got to do now too, by the way, I'm going to reconstruct the bracket because
reconstruct it. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, because I made it logged out on the on the other account, so I have to go redo it. Live entertainment, folks.
We'll do it live. Do what you got to do. We'll keep stalling for a little bit.
Sorry about that, folks. Let's chalk it up to technical difficulties. I apologize.
Right. It's all your fault, but that's okay.
I'm accepting my penance.
Let's before I give mine, so let's get to some good comments here. Veteran Jeff said Johnny Mitchell showed glimpses of greatness, had some killer multi-touchdown games.
Oh, he's on here. We're gonna get into Johnny.
He was
Mitchell.
An absolute head case off the field. Yes, he was. Obviously before my time, but I know enough of the Johnny Mitchell story to know about that. Brian said Calvin Pryor. Yeah, he's on there, man. What, the Louisville Slugger? That's what his nickname was. I saw him on that list too. Brian said last year the bracket was purely QB draft, but I think last year's March Madness was
we did two. One was during like a summer lull, and
that was different. We did a different bracket, which was I think just the worst Jets quarterbacks of all time. I believe is what that bracket was. I was that Zach Wilson who won that.
Mike? Zach Wilson won that.
Shout out Zach.
Christian Hackenberg was also in the finals. Browning Nagel was.
Yep.
in the finals, which Browning Nagel is on this list again.
And we got to say, Zach Wilson has a chance to make another deep run here. He can be our top performer in these tournaments. And as Better Jet fan said, the biggest bust is Zach Wilson. Well, we'll get to it. He very well might be. I think my answer for that question of who's a prospect that I was super excited about that ended up being shit, it's Ja'Kai Polite.
My God. That's the key. Like, he was supposed to be a first-round pick, and then just the interviews were.
And didn't even make the roster.
Could not have tanked his stock more at the combine. He basically went rogue at the combine and just said all the worst things. And he had didn't he fail a drug test as well at the combine? Am I making that up?
I think he got fined like $200,000 in the preseason.
Yeah, but the Jets got him in the third round, top of the third round, or it was in the 60s, I believe they picked him. And I was like, man, first round talent here. One of the twitchiest dudes in this class, like awesome pass rusher. I am so excited to see Ja'Kai Polite play. And then he never played. And then he was a third round pick who got cut in as part of final roster cuts. And then
I haven't seen, I think since then, we might need to go look this up. A guy picked as high as him that got cut before, because that happens sometimes, like a 5th round pick or even a 4th round pick if it's crazy. But
the closest I could think is Isaiah Wilson played one game for the Titans, and he
didn't get cut in the preseason.
No, he didn't. But he played one game ever as a first round pick.
You mean the ultra successful rapper Gigi Bowser?
How do you know his rap name?
I remember that distinctly because I remember thinking it's so stupid. And he released a song. I'm not like trying to. Everybody makes bad songs. It is the worst song I have ever heard in my entire life. I'm not even like, because he's doing like a mumble rap with like a falsetto high voice, but he's Isaiah Wilson. I remember that distinctly. Oh my God, made my ears bleed.
He's from New York, right? Isn't he from like?
Yeah, he is.
From Rockaway or something like that. He's from Brooklyn.
He's really not. It's not a good first impression. He's leaving.
So in fairness to Polite, I think he played more than one game, just not for the Jets. I think he ended up on the Rams, right? Like
he did go to the Rams. He actually had, I think, like a sack or a sack and a half in his career. I think it was, if I remember correctly. He played 1 year in 2020. Had a sack. Had one sack with the Rams in 11 games, and then never played again after that. But hey, man, shout out Ja'Kai Polite. That one sack.
He made it eventually.
He did. He came in chat said Jabari's
really quick. I need to go and make sure that the new bracket is working.
Functional.
Does that pop up?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. We're good now, so we can get started. So,
all right. Well, really quick, Kim said Jabari Zuniga, another Florida defensive lineman.
Florida guys in general, because LaMichael Pirine too.
If I remember correctly, Zuniga was a bit of a reach where they took him. I think he was kind of somebody that was projected more day 3, and they took him. I know they took him 3rd round. He never.
That's kind of where he was supposed to go. I remember he just didn't.
Yeah,
he just didn't work out.
He never ended up doing much. It's a good shout.
So on to our first matchup. 1 seed Blair Thomas and 16 seed Dwayne Robertson.
Really quick. The Better Jet fan said rapper name should have been the notorious BUST. Nice. Well done.
That would have been funny.
Well
at least.
Well done. That's good.
At least he got a sense of humor.
Good work. So, all right, Blair Thomas, Dwayne Robertson. I feel like
Blair Thomas, I don't think he needs any explaining. He actually was the originator for a while.
For our younger Jets fans, that might be in chat.
There was a term, Penn State running back for a while, was like, don't draft one. Kurt Warner, not Kurt the quarterback, but Kurt with a C, was a very good player. And then after him, it was Blair Thomas, Kajana Carter, who went number 1, and I believe on the first preseason drive of the first game blew out his knee and was never the same again. Curtis Enos, for a while, it was don't draft a Penn State running back. This guy started. They pick him 2nd overall.
Yep.
2nd in 1990. 2,200 career rushing yards, never more than 800 in any given season. Got banged up, lacked explosiveness. His longest career rush was 41 yards, and he's a smaller, kind of a speed guy. One of the worst picks ever, and when people say don't pick running backs high, it's because of guys like this. You ruin the party for everybody. And then Dwayne Robertson got picked 4th overall after a big trade-up in 2003.
Yeah,
he actually was not a bad player. Played 5 years with the Jets, and he had the one with Denver. The numbers are okay. Kind of a smaller space eater guy who could defend the run a little bit, but you want to pick a guy like Dwayne Robinson at like number 28 overall, not number 4 overall. I think this is an easy one for me. I'm going Blair Thomas every day and twice on Sunday with this one.
100%. This is an easy one. I mean, Dwayne Robertson, very notorious draft bust, but still played 5 years with the team. Blair Thomas is again, I think him being a 1 seed here is pretty valid. He is one of the biggest draft busts, not only in Jets history, but in NFL history. Gets forgotten about because it was back, what was he, 1980? Drafted
1990.
1990. Wow, way off.
Because they missed on him, it was years and years of trying to get talent, and they never got it in there. So kind of the Kotite experience started because of whiff picks like Blair Thomas and some of the other ones later in this bracket.
Yep. Better Jet fan said Robertson was okay, but the Jets and Herm Edwards thought he was going to be the next Warren Sapp. Well, finally you mentioned Warren Sapp because we got a Warren Sapp related player later on this
Charlie,
list.
any contrasting opinions here? Or
no, not at all. Because like at least you can say Robertson was like a pro. You know what I mean? Like he was a pro player. Blair Thomas, he kind of faded out of the league relatively quick, right? So
yeah.
We got a good one. Calvin Pryor versus Christian Hackenberg.
This is a good one. And
now Christian Hackenberg never played in the NFL.
As MF Chu said, Hackenberg never even played in the game. No, he did not. Brian said Hackenberg contributed nothing. That is correct. Never played
in college, did nothing in the pros.
Yep.
There are 2 reasons to go with Calvin Pryor here, though. Number one, Hackenberg was a late second-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
So, and guys miss on late second-round picks all the time, even good organizations. Some late second-round pick. I remember Senquez Golson for the Steelers in the prime Mike Tomlin year. Same sort of thing. Never played for him. Top 50 pick or top 60 pick. Calvin Pryor played terribly, but he was a first-round pick, number 18 overall. I remember being so pissed when they took him for 2 reasons. Because I remember, one, I really wanted them to take Brandon Cooks that year. And he went number 20 to the Saints. Calvin Pryor went 18. And I even remember, they have the little scouting reports in the draft, like Mel Kiper will come on and say thing. He had concerns about his man coverage and zone coverage. I'm like, that is a big issue for a safety. And but he hits hard. I'm like, well, okay, he hits. All of his highlights were him hitting hard, and none were like intercepting the ball. And again, Calvin Pryor is one of those guys. He doesn't even just bounce around the league for a little bit after he left the Jets. He barely played after he left.
He was, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, traded to the Cleveland Browns for Demario Davis, who is now back with the Jets for his 3rd stint. That was Demario's 2nd stint with the Jets. And then I'm pretty sure Pryor got into a fight in training camp with the Browns and then got cut.
Then he played for the Jaguars. He played 2 games and made 1 tackle, and that was it.
I have no memory of him playing with the Jaguars. That's great.
I don't either. This is a tough one. Charlie, where are you at on this?
It's got to be Hackenberg. I mean, never playing. I understand the whole second-round pick thing, but never playing a snap like in a regular season game is just absolutely ridiculous. Pryor at least had somewhat of like I wouldn't say successful career, but like he was at least like a player for a
he made at least 1 play, which is more than the 0 Christian Hackenberg made.
See, I feel like in the modern NFL, like today, like someone would have tried him at linebacker, like the Raiders did with Jamal Adams, or like the Falcons with Ronnie Harrison. I believe. I
remember Mark Barron was the prototype for that.
Yeah. So I don't. It's got to be Hackenberg for me.
Justin Hackenberg?
Yeah, it's Hackenberg. One of these 2 is going to go down in history as the more infamous draft bust, and it's going to be Hackenberg.
Is it because if Hackenberg wasn't a quarterback, though, would it be Calvin Pryor? If Hackenberg was defensive
but
end.
the fact that he's a quarterback and the fact that it was as embarrassing, like the pick was universally panned at the time. Hackenberg was a guy who people were like, maybe he's a day 3 guy, maybe. Like it was like Drew Aller times 10, where it's like, man, this guy can't play quarterback at all. And you even see it now, like where even we have these Aller discussions, people are like, oh, you're going to draft another Penn State quarterback, you're going to take another Christian Hackenberg. Like he will stand the test of time. Jets fans 20 years from now aren't going to remember who Calvin Pryor is. A lot of kids right now probably don't know who Calvin Pryor is, but I promise they've heard the name Christian Hackenberg. It's got to be Hackenberg.
Brian Glick with a good one who's not in here. Mike Nugent. He had a career, though.
He was a second-round pick and a kicker. Yeah. How long was he with the Jets for? Only 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, he was with the Bengals mostly after that. But he played for a while. Like I look at that the same way where
it's a bust. He's a bust for sure.
Probably the way the Jets, when they took James Ferrier as high as they took him, he was a bust. But then he went to the Steelers and he was awesome. So
Nugent was never awesome, though.
That's why Darnold's not on here either, because he was a bust for the Jets, but then he had the career after.
I feel like Nugent was a mid kicker at best throughout his career and was below mid with the Jets. I think it's valid to say him, but also, again, 2nd-round pick, not as bad. As Brian said, by the way, in chat, mentioned Hackenberg's AAF career. I believe Hackenberg went to the AAF.
The Memphis Express.
Never threw a touchdown. And I'm pretty sure he was benched for both Zach Mettenberger and Brandon Silvers.
He got benched for Johnny Manziel.
And Johnny Manziel. I forgot Manziel was on the Memphis Express.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a that feels like a lifetime ago, dude. That was 7 years ago now. Wow.
This is the one that's going to make Jets fans of a certain age cringe. Ron
Give us
Perot
the
and
context.
Dave Cadigan. Dave Cadigan got picked 8th overall in the 1988 draft. Now, originally it wasn't thought of as a great draft because Andre Bruce went number 1. There are tons of Hall of Famers here. Cadigan actually didn't have an awful career. He played with the Jets 51 games, went to Bengals for a year after in 94. Bruce Coslett brought him over there, and then that was it. Mid-offensive lineman, 64 starts. You're like, all right, why is that so bad? Here's why it's so bad. Because the 2 picks before him were Tim Brown and Sterling Sharp, Hall of Famers. Now, the Cowboys picked, and then Terry McDaniel went after him, who made like 5 Pro Bowls for the Raiders. He was a cornerback. Cowboys picked 11th, and I don't know if this guy's going to work out, though. It took this guy named Michael Irvin, and I don't know, did he do good? I don't know. And then, the Vikings at 19, they really had to, I don't know if this one's going to work. Randall McDaniel, who may be the best guard ever. How about the 3rd pick of the 2nd round? Just Eric Allen, who's a Hall of Fame defensive back. So that's part of it, too, is not only was he bad, but it's the opportunity cost of the guys they passed on to take him. And Ron Perot, the Jets had 2 picks in the top 15 in 1984, which, fun fact, is the only draft that does not have a Hall of Fame. Them in 92 are the only 2 drafts with no Hall of Famers in it. And they blew both of them. Perot went 15th overall. 6'7", 265 pounds, big D lineman, ran really well. 20 games played in 2 years, 2 sacks, out of the league, never played again. For a top 15 pick. To get 20 tackles and
Brutal.
2 sacks. As veteran Jet fan, Cadigan had an issue with penalties. Cadigan and Jeff Criswell were nicknamed the Penalty Pals. That's an amazing nickname.
Wait, that's
The
an
Penalty
adorable
Pals.
nickname, though. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Imagine if they were calling what's the Giants tackle that got like 5
Eric
All-Stars in a
Flowers?
row?
Evan Neal?
No. Last
Hudson.
year. No, Hudson. What's his
Hudson.
first name? James Hudson. Yes. What if they were calling James Hudson like one half? James Hudson and Evan Neal, the penalty pals 2.0.
The bullshit bros. I think it's Perot because Cadigan,
Bullshit.
the big argument for him, on top of the awesome Penalty Pals nickname, is
What about
it's
the
passing
full
on
start
Michael
fan? How's that
Irvin
about
and Randall McDaniel to select him. Ron Perot, 20 games in 2 years for a top 15 pick is deplorable.
So the added context with Cadigan definitely makes this a bit more of a contest. But the fact that Perot only played 2 seasons and then was just completely out of the league, like
For a top 15 pick, too.
yeah, like that's bad, man. That's real bad. Cadigan, at least, like kind of like we're going back. It's just he had a career. He at least had a career. You know, it's
Yeah. How do we feel about the holding hoodlums?
The Penalty Pals, I think that's a little better.
I'm trying to think of other ones here. Yeah, look, I wasn't around to watch either of these guys play. But looking at their careers, Perot definitely had the worst career. He played 2 years in the NFL. I know there's more context behind Cadigan and all the Hall of Famers that were taken after him. But like you guys said, at least Cadigan played a little bit. And veteran Jet fans said Cadigan was actually a multi-year starter. Perot was out of league after 2 seasons, despite being a top 15 pick. So yeah, I'm cool going with Perot here. A couple other names that were mentioned. Denzel Mims could have been on this list. Quentin Coples. Honestly, I would have thrown Coples on here probably.
I thought he was going to be so good.
That was a big bust.
Well, to be fair,
Yep.
they switched the scheme,
was
so they had him at 290 pounds as a stand-up
They did.
linebacker. So let's go with the 413, Kyle Brady and Roger Vick. Kyle Brady actually he played 12 years in the NFL. People forget that. 13 years, actually. Primarily, though, with the Jaguars. Had some really good years with the Jaguars, but was considered a huge overdraft when they took him. Another Penn State guy, by the way. Jets and Penn State don't mesh very well. And
now, what's the last successful Jets draft pick out of Penn State? Oh, I mean, Fashanu.
Fashanu, yeah. He's the one, yeah.
Fashanu's pretty good. He's the one guy. He broke the there's a shout, Anthony Rufo. We'll thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, we're not
unfortunately
we're not
shall not
discussing
be named.
him for reasons.
Yeah, unfortunately some really shitty stuff lately. But that is a good
shout. There were famously chants of "We want Sapp. We want Sapp." They wanted Warren Sapp.
Yep.
And they took Kyle Brady, His best year with the Jets, he had 30 catches for 315 yards, and then he was off to Jacksonville. A veteran Jet fan, you're too young for Coleman Rudolph. Oh, I remember Coleman Rudolph. Well, I remember that they picked him over Michael Strahan.
My age, get out of here.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm like, oh my God, this is a mess. But that's Kyle Brady. Roger Vick. This is how football's changed. He was a first-round fullback that got picked out of Texas A&M. Big guy, 6'3", 245. He was listed at. Big guy. How does 3.9 yards per carry for a career sound? How does 540 yards being his best rushing season sound? How does getting rid of him after 3 years sound? Because he then went to the Eagles and did nothing, and he was out of the league in 4 years. 1987 was tough because there was a player strike and all that, but Rod Woodson got picked that year. Jim Harbaugh was actually picked kind of right after him. Rich Gannon was also picked after him. Hardy Nickerson, who was a great linebacker. A lot of guys they could have picked.
Any relation
Armstrong, Greg Lloyd, and they took Roger frickin' Vick.
Any relation to Parry, the Nickerson guy?
I don't believe so. I believe Hardy's son, Hardy Jr., played in the NFL.
Wow.
Veteran Jet fan, Brady was basically an extra offensive lineman. He was a good blocker. Yeah. They just thought he'd be this good receiver, too. Never developed.
The Max Mitchell of his era. Some say. Look, I obviously, again, I wasn't around to watch. Brady, I guess we were around to watch the tail end of his
Jags,
career.
Yeah. I think he went to the Patriots, too.
He did play well into the 2000s. And I know this is going to go against the logic I just used for the last one, but I'll liken it back to the logic I used for Hackenberg. Kyle Brady is such an infamous name in Jets lore because of the fact that, again, like you mentioned, like I feel like when people think of Jets fans reacting to bad picks in the NFL draft, like the years of that happening, the one that will always, always, always come to mind, the one that stands out the most is the Kyle Brady pick because of the Warren Sapp context.
Vic was just so much worse.
He was. And
Kyle Brady got picked higher too. I think he was a top 10 pick.
But when you think about who is going to be remembered as a draft bust, I think Kyle Brady is going to stand the test of time as one of the most infamous draft busts in NFL history. And that's not even a fault of his own, because like you mentioned, better player than Roger Vick. Had a respectable NFL career, played over a decade in the league. Didn't do a ton with the Jets, but forged a pretty solid career. He will always, forever and always be tied to Warren Sapp and be tied to just the sheer chaos that was in that draft room or in that building when the Jets took.
Charlie's the tiebreaker here. What do you got?
So I'm saying Justin, I respect that you're trying to get an upset going here, our first of the bracket, but I gotta go Vic because there's also a famous video of his selection too. We were talking about this before we started. There's a video of Pete Rozelle. He pulls the draft card and he says the New York Jets select, and he says fullback, picks his head up and smiles at the crowd, and then says Roger Vick, and you hear the Jet fans screaming in the background. It's not as famous as the "We Want Sapp," but it's still just up there in the upper echelon of yes, Jets draft bust failure. So yeah, I'll go the fullback Vic. Like, come on, man.
By the way, not only did they pass on Sapp, but Ty Law and Derek Brooks also went in that first round. So
wonderful.
Oh, here's a good one. Vernon Gholston and Mekhi Becton.
Will Mike go another time talking about Becton and without saying a fact?
So Vernon Gholston, who actually is the more svelte of the two, if you could believe it. I remember watching when he got picked. I think his dad was bigger than Mekhi Becton. I'm like, man, this guy.
Yeah, his dad was huge.
And then I remember seeing they were doing like the family stories. They were like, his mother runs a soul food catering business. I'm like, okay, that explains. That explains. I'd be fat too if my mom owned a catering business.
Dude, yeah, absolutely.
But and look, Mekhi Becton, he at least has the excuse of he got hurt a bunch. Now, he didn't put himself in a good position to not get hurt. And again, not like I'm making a joke thing. Like, they told him to get slimmed down a little bit. Didn't really do that. He looked okay with the Eagles. Looked horrible with the Chargers. That might just be a Jeff Stoutland thing. But they took him 11th overall, I believe, over Tristan Wirfs to be their franchise left tackle. And he was the furthest thing from it. But Vernon Gholston, it's one thing to be a first-round defensive line pick and bust. It's one thing to be a first-round defensive line pick who was picked 6th overall and bust. It's another thing to be picked 6th overall and get 0 sacks in your NFL career.
Insane.
So much so, he was so bad. Arvell Reese plays nothing like him, and Jets fans who aren't watching Arvell Reese are saying he's Vernon Gholston 2.0.
It's
because
they
they
both
both went to Ohio State. That's how bad Vernon Gholston is seared into the minds of Jets fans. It's got to be Vernon Gholston.
Yeah, it's absolutely Gholston. As MFQ said, Gholston's a bigger bust. At least Becton was the 6th highest tackle in his rookie year. Yeah, dude, I always point this out. There was, how the NFL does that? Like, I think it's like through ESPN. They do like the poll of all the league executives and teams and coaches or whatever. In June, they usually do it around going into the season. Going into 2022, Becton was the 6th highest rated tackle, or highest, like, on that poll, that anonymous poll. He was ranked 6th in the NFL on all offensive tackles. That was projection. Obviously, he had an encouraging rookie year, and people were projecting that he'd take a big leap. That was how he was viewed after his rookie year. To see where he's fallen to after that, it is really, like, it's tragic. Like, yeah, I know some of it is, maybe attitude stuff, and he wasn't always in the best physical shape, but man, he had rotten luck. Like, I think of the Panthers game where Greg Van Roten just throws a guy into his knee. Like, that's nothing to do with conditioning at that point. That is just rotten luck, and I feel bad for the guy. But this is Vernon Gholston.
Veteran Jet fan, Gholston is the most amazing bust of all time. You got an argument for that.
He has a chance to be number 1, like, on this list. He absolutely could win this bracket.
He has a tough matchup coming up later. I'll say that
he does, but he's in that tier of the top busts in not only Jets history but in recent NFL history.
Browning Nagel and Johnny Lamb Jones. Now, Johnny Lamb Jones was a receiver out of Texas, and they very quickly realized that he's a fast guy, but he's more like 100 meters fast as opposed to football fast. 2nd overall pick, a receiver 2nd. Plays 5 years with the Jets. His best year was the only year he topped 500 yards receiving, was 1983. Only played 61 games, 2,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. A career, like, he had 5 years, but they picked him 2nd. And, I always like to do the who you could have had. So they pick him 2nd. Billy Sims went number 1, who's like one of the all-time great what could have been if he didn't get hurt guys. Billy Sims was a freak. He was awesome.
Incredible college player.
And he was good for the Lions before he got hurt. I think he won, like, Rookie of the Year. But number 3, the Bengals are probably going, damn. They took Lamb Jones. I guess we'll go take Anthony Munoz, who's the best tackle ever. 1 pick later after Johnny Lamb Jones. My Art Monk Hall of Famer also went in the 1st round that year.
Nice.
Browning Nagel, they didn't pick him over Brett Favre. I believe he was 1 pick after Brett Favre. 34th overall pick, so early 2nd round again in 1991. So he only starts 14 games as a high 2nd round pick. High does 8 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. Down for a high 2nd round pick quarterback. They gave up on him almost immediately. Not an NFL quarterback. Veteran Jet fan again. Nagel was supposed to be Brett Favre. Browning had an amazing arm, but brutal reading defenses and was terribly inaccurate. This one's pretty even. I'm going to go Lamb Jones because, again, Browning Nagel was a 2nd round pick. Lamb Jones is number 2 overall. And really, like, Hackenberg's infamous for not playing. And you could argue, I think we had this argument back in the quarterback video, which is it worse to play and be as terrible as Browning Nagel was or just not play at all like Christian Hackenberg? I think we decided on Hackenberg. But, man, when you take a guy 2nd overall as a wide receiver and they're sandwiched in between Pro Bowl every year when he was healthy and the best tackle ever, I feel like it's got to be Lamb Jones.
Charlie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going Johnny Lamb Jones here. Just the fact, Mike, like you mentioned, the draft positioning, being the 2nd overall pick, supposed to be the 2nd best player in the class, arguably the greatest tackle of all time going after him. That's way worse than whiffing on the top of the 2nd round. Like that's like the Titans whiffing on Will Levis if he was worse than what he was in those 2 seasons a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm going Lamb Jones as well. I was looking at his stats. I didn't realize he had a 700-yard season with the Jets.
Oh, wow. 700 yards.
I mean, that's better. The way people talk about Lamb Jones, like, you would think he was Blair Thomas. Like, he was out of the league in 2 years, 3 years, whatever. But he, at least did something. That being said, still going Lamb Jones because I feel like his name does come up even more so than Nagel. Nagel's name comes up in the conversation of worst Jets quarterbacks as opposed to biggest Jets draft busts, which I know that's saying more about the Jets as far as how many busts they've had, that he's not even really in that conversation, but he was a 2nd round pick. He did only have 1 year as a starter. Jones was a 2nd overall pick. And like you said, was a fast guy who was not really a wide receiver, even though they tried to make him one.
Before we go into our next matchup, I just kind of a funny anecdote. I was looking over one of those like top 10 worst busts just to make sure I didn't miss anybody. And Bleacher Report, remember old bad Bleacher Report? They did one of those and they had Ken O'Brien at number 2. I'm like, absolutely not.
Oh, what?
It's ridiculous.
No way. Ken O'Brien.
They could have had Dan Marino was the whole, but like, come on.
Ken O'Brien is probably the 3rd best quarterback in Jets history, 4th best. Like, the only guys you could definitively put ahead of him are probably.
Too.
I mean, Namath's the only one you could definitively put ahead of him. Vinny had higher peak, obviously.
Ken O'Brien was there for longer.
But after that, it's probably. I mean, you're talking Ken O'Brien, you're talking Chad Pennington, you're talking Mark Sanchez, like legitimately. Once you're getting into the back end of the top 5.
7-10, a cornerback versus cornerback matchup. Russell Carter and D. Milner. Russell Carter. Did D. Milner wear 27?
21, I think, or maybe it was
Russell. I think they both wore 27.
He was 27. Yeah.
All right, so 2 cornerbacks who both were number 27. Carter was picked 10th overall in 84, in the same year as Ron Farreau out of SMU, and boy, was he bad. So a top 10 pick. And he plays for 6 years, only 4 of them games, was hurt all the time. He actually, just like D. Milner, had 4 picks his rookie year and none after that. So there was something there for a year and then just flames out to the point where you're like, oh my God. And then D. Milner, every Alabama defensive back has shown at least some promise. And D. Milner right away was just not it. Yeah. I remember I think he won like defensive rookie of the month or something like that because he had a bunch of picks when they were eliminated. So I'm like, oh, he's getting it. And then he got hurt a lot and he was bad in there. And I remember he got benched multiple times in games. Like they would put him in, he'd get benched, then they put him back in, he'd get benched again. People, Aaron Jetfin says Milner was buyer beware. My memory might be foggy. I remember him being viewed as a pretty safe thing, and he just collapsed.
I think the injuries were the reason it was buyer beware. If I remember correctly, which we were young at that time, but I seem to remember the injuries being a big problem with him coming out of Bama, and then obviously in the NFL those injuries persisted and definitely derailed his career. Like I know he was
I think the biggest thing he had at Alabama was a hernia, and then then he got all the bad ones on top of being bad.
Yeah, but I well, look, at the top of the show, I said that Russell Carter is the only name on this list that I don't know who they are. So I will be.
And Milner went 9th here too, so he went higher.
Yeah, and Milner, again, I'm not going to speak to Carter here, but Milner, I know that after his Jets career ended unceremoniously, never played another game anywhere in the NFL, anywhere in professional football. He completely fell off the face of the earth. Like no idea what D. Milner's up to now. I hope he's doing well in his life. I really do, but legitimately never played a game with, and I don't remember him even having like tryouts with other teams. Like it was like Jets cut him. That's it. He's done. He's gone from the NFL world.
I tried to look for LinkedIn. It just says student at University of Alabama. So I don't know if he's going back to get his degree or what.
Maybe he went back to school. Who knows?
All right.
Real quick, was he selected with the Buccaneers pick that they got for the Revis trade, or was I think
Sheldon Richardson was used with that pick?
That was okay. It was like
13
okay.
or whatever.
So I mean, that was the one good Idzik pick was Richardson,
right?
And Quincy Enunwa, but
right. And he still didn't. What did he last 4 years with the Jets?
5, I think. Yeah. But he was good with the Jets. They just,
yeah. He was.
215.
Oh, come on.
Here we go, veteran Jet fans. For you, Johnny Mitchell and Zach Wilson. It is, but I remember Johnny Mitchell because not only was he a disappointing tight end, I forget exactly where he was picked. I'll actually tell you, if this was 92, he got picked 15th overall. Chester McLaughlin, who played forever, he was a really good defensive tackle, was the next pick. 4 years with the Jets. Actually had some good years, 749 yards his third year as a tight end.
749 yards is probably a top 5 tight end season.
It probably is. The biggest thing with him, though, is he was just a little bit of, I don't want to say a head case to avoid, litigation, but a lot of people didn't like him. I remember Boomer Esiason told a story on the air once where he said he never got into like a fight with any offensive player, but he's like, he brought me the closest out of anybody when he was with the Jets. So another bad tight end pick in the first round. People didn't like him. Only one catch with the Cowboys after he left, flamed out. And Zach Wilson, look, I don't think I need
He needs-
to
you know, he
tell
needs
you
no-
guys how that went.
Recent enough that wound is still open.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's Zach. We don't got to beat around the bush here. It's Zach Wilson.
Oh, the Penn State versus three Penn States in the
Wow.
final eight. So many
Oh.
Penn State guys. Blair Thomas
damn,
and
man.
Christian Hackenberg.
Hackenberg's gonna flame out in the second round. That's crazy. He does not deserve that. He deserves
Again,
to be
though,
in
it's
this
late
lineup.
second round pick. It's
Yeah.
I know, but it's just it's the infamy. Like that's what it is. It's the legacy of Christian Hackenberg as a draft bust. Like it means more than the spot that he was
but
picked.
Blair Thomas being that high.
But I agree. I can't in good faith pick him over Blair Thomas, but man, this is unfortunate that Hackenberg has to crash out.
This is another like age litmus test because I feel like everybody that saw Blair Thomas live is gonna say like, no, he's got to be.
I mean, it's Blair Thomas. I didn't watch him play, but it's still got to be Blair Thomas. But even still, I hate to see
Veteran
Hackenberg
Jet fan on Johnny Mitchell.
Look at this next round.
He was arguably the most physically gifted tight end the Jets ever had, and Mitchell didn't focus on football.
See, this is annoying because Hackenberg would absolutely, in my opinion, beat out both Ron Farrow and Roger Vick. I would be putting Hackenberg through to the next round, but it's not how it goes. You got to play who's in front of you.
As the Patriots said Ron this Farrow year entirely, break the schedule may.
Boy, did they play who was in front of them? They definitely.
So, Ron Farrow, Roger Vick, both middle first round picks, both terrible. One played 3 years with the Jets, one played 2. So do you want a defensive end with no production or a fullback with minimal production?
Let's go the fullback.
Yeah,
Let's go Roger Vick. Charlie bringing up the video that he
Farrow.
mentioned before. That is a fun video.
2 sacks for a top 15 pick?
Yeah, but I know Roger Vick more.
And if I'm putting my modern NFL glasses on, a fullback in the first round, like what the hell was going on in the 80s, man? Like
even for the 80s, that was wild. Like fullbacks weren't being used like that in the 80s, where it was like if you take one in the first round, no one's gonna bat an eye.
You
like, that was still
one. I mean, there were a couple like Tom Rathman and Larry Centers where they were like center Daryl Johnston, where they were like centerpieces of the offense, but you could get them later. Veteran Jet fan with some more on Blair Thomas. He had a fumbling problem and got in the doghouse quick with Bruce Coslett. Blair was notorious for dancing in the backfield and not hitting the hole. Sounds like another Jets running back that we know. 311.
I'm not okay. Actually, are you? Was it
no? That was a Le'Veon Bell comment.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I forgot. I blank out of my head.
This is a tough one. Johnny Lamb Jones or Vernon Golston.
It's not that tough. It's
Golston.
It's still Vernon.
Any objections there?
No objections.
No. Lamb Jones is definitely more infamous to a certain era of Jets fans who lived through that. But Golston is one of the most infamous draft busts in modern NFL history.
Here's an exercise though, because Jones went 2. If Jones went 1, if he was the number 1 overall pick, would that change anything?
I think it's still Golston. What was Golston? Was he 5? 6? Yeah, he was 6. Yeah, he was 6. It's still
Lamb Jones. He's got a cool nickname.
No,
you know what I mean? So like, let's give him the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, Lamb.
I don't know. It sounds Johnny Lamb Jones. It sounds like
It does sound cool, but where did that?
It sounds like somebody who would fight like the Lone Ranger or something like that, like outlaw Johnny Lamb Jones.
Lamb was short. All right. So according to AI overviews, so take this with a grain of salt. According to that, it says Lamb was short for his hometown of Lampasas, Texas. Texas.
Lampass, Texas.
It's a cool
nickname. Yeah, and it's citing Texas.
It just sounds so cool. I didn't know he passed away in 2019.
Oh, and it was used to distinguish. Okay, wait, I actually like this now. It was used to distinguish. So he went to the University of Texas, and his head coach at the time, Darrell Royal, used it to distinguish between him and his teammate because there was another guy on the team named Johnny Jones, but his name was Johnny Ham Jones because he was from Hamlin,
so it was
Texas.
Ham and Lamb.
All right, this is awesome.
This is great lore.
All right, I've been won over. This is actually a really
Ham
cool
and Lamb.
I'm all
I think the stadium's named after Darrell Royal in Texas.
If this was us, then Mike, what's your hometown, Mike?
Hamilton, oddly enough.
Oh, so you'd be Mike Ham Luciano.
Yeah, but like it's kind of a one syllable name, like Mike Jones, like the song, but
Mike Ham Luch.
Lamb Pass ass Texas. All right, D. Milliner and Zach Wilson.
Two modern era.
Zach Wilson, oddly enough, more productive than D. Milliner in the NFL.
I guess.
Yeah, and he's gonna likely have.
Zach is again like the impact of what he represented.
If assuming Zach makes a 53-man roster this year,
didn't he just get signed by the Saints?
Yes, yeah, he's in New Orleans now, so he's their third string behind Shuck and Rattler. I'm assuming they keep him around. He's likely going to have a longer career than D. Milliner in the NFL, so that's something. However, it's still Zach Wilson. It's got to be Zach. It has to be Zach. Just again because of the pure infamy of it. Like second overall pick, probably going to go down as one of the bigger draft busts at the quarterback position in recent memory. Like it's Zach.
1-4. Whoa. Hell of a backfield. Right, Roger Vick. So they had Roger Vick, and because he failed so badly, they had to take Blair Thomas at 2.
Where'd Vick go to school?
Mississippi State, I want to say. A&M, somewhere down south. But
he also would later play for the Orlando Thunder of the World.
Oh, that was the biggest crock of shit because they called it the World Football League, and they had 8 teams, and 5 of them were in America.
Well, this is the World League of American
they had a team in London, they had a team in Barcelona, and they had a team in, I think, Frankfurt
Birmingham.
or Galaxy. That was the.
They had a team in Birmingham, Alabama, playing in the
They
World
had the
League
Raleigh Durham Skyhawks. That sounds like a minor league baseball team. I remember.
They did. Look at that. Replaced by the Ohio.
Oh,
Glory.
that sounds like
they claimed the whole state of Ohio.
That sounds like in any given Sunday, like the teams they would play. Like Miami Sharks were the team there. They would play the Ohio Glory.
Yeah. The Ohio Glory.
Blair Thomas and Roger Vick.
It's probably Blair Thomas, right?
Blair Thomas just got picked higher, I think, is what's also going to do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think Thomas is just more infamous.
Well, you take a running back 2 overall, and he sucks.
Yeah, and like you said, it influenced an entire generation of people saying, don't take Penn State running backs. I don't think people were saying the same about don't draft Texas A&M.
This might be... This is the
championship.
This is the de facto champ. These are the 2 biggest, I think.
This is going to be nationally televised. This is going to get all the ratings. This is going to be the highest viewed.
This is like when we were watching the AFC and the NFC championship, and you're like, whoever wins the NFC championship is the 2 best teams.
Yeah,
Vernon Gholston and Zach Wilson.
It's tough. Well, look, what's the case for both, right? I guess the case for Gholston is you could say that Zach Wilson has had a better NFL career than Vernon Gholston.
Inarguable.
It's crazy to say that. It's crazy, but it is true. Vernon Gholston never had a single sack in his NFL career. Overall. He was also picked
by accident fall into 1 in 3 years as a defensive lineman.
Ja'Kai Polite had one.
Yeah, how do you not? How does it got, like
how many career sacks? And I don't mean to pick on this guy because shout out Tanzel Smart. He's awesome. How many career sacks is Tanzel Smart? Okay. Tanzel Smart also has 0 career sacks. That's a really unfortunate one.
Maybe it is hard. I don't know.
So Vernon Gholston is the same level of performer as Tanzel Smart. And that
Anthony Rufo says Gholston. Veteran Jet fan says at least Zach had some good games. Keep it simple. Zach at least was able to win some games. But Zach destroyed the franchise for several years. Vernon Gholston did not.
That's the thing. That's the thing here is and I'm not saying
we're still reeling out from under the wreckage of Zach Wilson.
Gholston was inarguably a worse player and inarguably had a worse career. Which did more damage to the Jets organization?
That's probably Zach, but also
does that mean we go with that, or do we?
Zach
what's
had
the logic
stretches where you're like, not that he's a franchise player, but you're like, okay, Zach operated an offense and won a game. Vernon Gholston got picked 6th overall, and immediately, even with Zach, he was struggling, but there were moments like in camp he was good, and you're like, okay, I see it coming in. Vernon Gholston got picked 6th overall. And immediately they were like, oh, we made a huge mistake. This guy can't do anything.
Now, do you think, I know the internet was in its infancy stages then and social media wasn't really a thing. Do you think Vernon Gholston had truthers? Do you think there were Vernon Gholston stands who were like, it's Rex's fault. It's the Jets' fault. It's not Vernon Gholston. Do you think that was the case?
I mean, there Probably the Jets were better then, at least, so there was less of a. Oh yeah, because they had Rex at the time, so they were winning. So they're like, well, we're not going to complain that Vernon Gholston's not
Mangini draft pick, right?
Yeah, Mangini drafted him, but then his latter 2 years were with Rex. So it was a Mangini draft pick. But I do wonder.
Whoa, all right, so these are actually, here's some combine stats for you, though, on Vernon Gholston. 6'3", 266, 33-inch arm, so not Ruben Bain. 4.65 in the 40-yard dash, 37 reps on the bench press.
Yeah.
That's like freaky strong. Can you guys put a poll in the chat? I
was just
try
wondering
to do that. I'm going to see if I can do that.
What we could do is I could put it on Twitter if we want to do that too.
We could. Let me just
put something on Twitter
see if I can
for
do
the next,
that right here.
For the next 2 minutes.
Engage
while you're trying to
start a poll. Here we go.
Oh, you got it. Oh. Wait, are you doing this through Restream?
Through the actual YouTube account.
All right, so there you go. There's definitely a way to do it. We've never done this before. Good idea, Anthony.
All right. Is it live? All right, it's live. So
could people see that? Vote, I guess now. I don't see it in the Restream chat, but I'm sure it's there on YouTube. I'm gonna get a second.
Gholston at 10 sacks his final college season. Yeah,
dude, it's shocking how much of a bust Vernon Gholston was. Like that.
The fact he did nothing. That's the thing. It's not like he had 3 sacks every year, and that like the fact he had 0. That's hard to top.
Yeah, and better Jet fans saying absolutely Gholston had truthers. I bet he did. I don't know if it was to the extent of Zach, just because quarterbacks always are in their own camp with that. Like there are still Zach Wilson truthers out there right now that are going to bat for him. Like that's now most of them might have residency in the state of Utah, but it's still a thing. It is still a thing.
Gholston is winning the poll 5-1 right now.
Jet fan said Gholston was a bigger bust, even though Zach Wilson was the more impactful bust. That might be a good way of putting it.
But who's going to advance here? The impactful one or the worst one?
Brian's saying Zachary. It really depends on how you look at it. Because if you look at it through the lens of who had the worst career, it's Gholston. But who was more impactful to the organization? Like which bust mattered more? It's Zach. Because the fallout. Let's look at the fallout of both really quick while the polls.
Gholston didn't even matter because they were going to championships.
Right. The fallout of drafting Vernon Gholston is really nothing because they draft him and then the next 2 years they go to the AFC Championship game back-to-back years. With Zach, they end up going after Rodgers, right? So they put all their chips in the Aaron Rodgers basket because the Zach Wilson thing doesn't work out. And not only that, you could also say because they drafted Wilson and then they go after Rodgers, they kept Wilson as the backup. So you get another year wasted even after the Aaron Rodgers Achilles tear because they wanted Zach to be the backup. And by they, probably a Woody decision, wanted Zach to be the backup. So that was it literally ruined that entire championship window, if you want to call it a championship window, contending window, we'll call it that they would have had.
But also for variety's sake too, I think Zach Wilson has won pretty much something related to Zach has won every sort of one of these.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we what's the poll say? The poll's Vernon Gholston?
It's 5 for Vernon Gholston, 4 for Zach. So it's
wow.
This is even.
All right. There's 3 of us here. We all got to make our votes.
I'm gonna go with Gholston.
Charlie,
I'm going Zach.
It wasn't like he got picked like 25th overall too.
I know.
6th and did nothing.
Zach
6th overall. Let's see who else went that year.
Well,
that they could have had instead of Vernon Gholston.
Charlie, what's your case for Zach?
Just the way it's been laid out with the overall impact of whiffing on him so bad at number 2, and I guess you could make the argument that it like whoever the Jets were picking at quarterback that year, like they're screwed anyway, but. It's just the long-term damage that he did of not panning out, not developing, leading to the Rodgers, leading to the downfall of the solid Douglas era that's everyone had so much high hopes for early on, and the fact that Gholston, that's just kind of he stunk, but that's kind of a drop in the bucket. Like all everyone remembers is the championship.
He stunk, but then there's 0 sacks at number 6. That's not just stunk. That's like
generational stink. Veteran Jet fan
some
also
of the players they could have had but passed on. By the way, no Hall of Famers right now. Calais Campbell, Joe Flacco, Matt Forte, Deshaun Jackson, Aqib Talib, Chris Johnson. It's a pretty good draft. Matt Ryan went 3.
Veteran Jet fan also added the other fallout piece of this is that because the Jets drafted Zach Wilson, they let Darnold go. They missed on drafting Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell, whatever. Which, yeah, if they had kept Darnold, obviously they likely draft Chase, Sewell, someone else like that in a really good draft class. Oh man,
I think it's Vernon.
I was leaning Vernon, but But I think I'm going to go with Zach Wilson just because of the fallout and because of the infamy. I think and maybe this is just the quarterback tax. I think in 40 years from now, when we're looking back at these guys, Zach's going to have the more lasting legacy in a bad way. But I think more people are going to remember the Zach Wilson pick than the Vernon Gholston pick, because Vernon's just going to be like, oh, wow, he was awful, but it didn't really impact the organization that much. I mean, it was bad, obviously. Like, you could argue that, hey, if they drafted an impact player there, maybe they can get to a Super Bowl, and maybe they do win a Super Bowl. But this just the infamy that is Zach Wilson, assuming that he doesn't revitalize his career at any point.
Here's the directive I have to have, though, to make sure Zach goes through. I think I need that official proclamation that Vernon Gholston would be number 2 all time.
Behind Blair.
I think Vernon versus Blair Thomas, Vernon wins.
I think I agree. Yes. I think Blair Thomas at least did stuff in his NFL career, whereas Gholston did nothing. I think Vernon's probably 2, which unfortunately.
And now the championship, I think it goes without saying then.
Yeah, maybe Blair. You're right. Blair Thomas really was the New England Patriots of this bracket. You're totally correct. He played who was in front of him, and you can't fault him for that. But he's getting the championship here, and I think this is a
Zach Wilson had multiple tough matchups.
Yeah, he did. Zach made it past D. Milliner. I think was even a bit of a discussion at one point. Like this is Zach Wilson.
This is
no disrespect to Blair, or I guess no respect to Blair.
No respect to Blair.
It's got to be Zach.
It's got to be Zach. Charlie, is it Zach?
It's got to be Zach. I mean, I feel like someone can make the case that we got a little bit of recency bias here with him, but it's just the long lasting impact of what happened and how that bomb was dropped in the organization in 2021. It's just, it can't be. We're still not done with it. You know what I mean? Like there's still a few more years here where we're going to be feeling the Zach Wilson fallout.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, sounds premature. Like I always say, to not be prisoners of the moment necessarily. As Viz Cristello, Gholston had great college production and 9.7 RAS. Sometimes guys just can't grasp NFL playbooks.
It's still shocking how bad he was. Like genuinely shocking.
Everything suggested he'd be good.
Yeah.
And then he did nothing. But like looking at Zach, like if you were going to do those top 10, biggest busts ever, biggest quarterback busts ever, they get exaggerated a lot with modern guys. Like, is Justin Fields one of the 10 worst ever? Like, no, he's not. But because it's modern, it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is Zach in there? He's got to be, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to be. So,
at this stage, I think he has to be.
He's like, I don't know if he's like, is he Ryan Leaf? Is he Achilles Smith?
He's not Ryan Leaf, but I think, I don't know if he's going to enter Achilles, because he's probably going to end up having a more success. Like, what was Achilles Smith's best season in the NFL?
He had 5 touchdowns in the NFL, Achilles Smith.
All right, so Zach's done more in his career already than Achilles Smith, so he's probably better than Achilles Smith. But
like, is he in like? Is he like 7, 8, 9, something like that?
What I've said about Zach Wilson is he's the worst quarterback that I've ever seen to start as many games as he started.
Who was would you put in a list of all time busts? Would you put him over Trey Lance?
Well, again, that's the whole does it matter if you played or not conversation. Like, is Zach Wilson?
It's the Hackenberg thing again.
Exactly. Is Zach Wilson a worse quarterback than Christian Hackenberg? Probably not. But we just saw a lot more. Like, I'll say no, he's not worse than Christian Hackenberg. But we saw a lot more of Zach Wilson. We got we were snake bitten because of that. So I don't know, man. I think he's going to end up being in that, like, maybe top 10 conversation, top 15 conversation. He's not going to be in the Leaf tier or Jamarcus Russell tier, but he's going to be talked about a lot. Probably going to be talked about more than Trey Lance, just because he played more than Lance.
Okay, all right. Biggest of the last 20 years.
Okay.
Last
20 years, he's going to be up there.
Actually, because 20 doesn't count. No, 20. Yeah, that doesn't count Leaf. So.
No, yeah,
Leaf was 98.
Counts Russell. Counts Jamarcus Russell though.
All right, so let's go 20 years. Jamarcus Russell, Jake Locker. I think Zach Wilson's worse than Jake Locker.
Wilson's worse than Locker.
EJ Manuel, I think he's worse than him.
Yeah, Manuel's had at least decent career as a backup. TBD if Wilson can, but I don't know, man.
Johnny Manziel.
I mean, at least Johnny was fun.
He was fun. And Wilson was taken.
He just was so much later.
Yeah, that was my point. Is Wilson was taken a lot earlier than Manziel. Manziel was in the 20s. So
22, because nobody wanted to. Nobody wanted
because
that.
of the pageantry around Manziel. I think he gets a boost, but I think Wilson, just because he was second overall, is probably worse.
Kenny
He's
Pickett,
worse than Pickett. Come on.
Anthony Richardson.
I feel like that's TBD. I don't know.
Yeah, Richardson's going to be in that
That's
conversation.
TBD.
When was Richardson? What he was top 6? Was
Four?
he 6?
I think it was
Fourth?
He was
fourth.
4.
He's going to be in that conversation. Yeah, I think, which sucks, but he's going to be in that conversation.
He might be the second worst, the worst non-Jamarcus Russell of the last 20 years.
Could be. So physically talented.
It's him or Lance.
Yeah. And Lance just didn't play enough. I feel like with Richardson, it's like, man, every time he played, like you got the full experience. And it's kind of the same with Zach.
Brian Sternbeck. I don't know if this is still the case, but Golston at one point had a part of his Wikipedia page citing a tweet he made as part of his career leaving the Jets.
Hold on. We got to check that now. We got to check that. That's an incredible poll.
I'm just, how do you get 0? That's the thing. He didn't get 2. He got 0.
I'm looking at the references.
He broke Mike Vrabel's sack record at Ohio
I'm looking
State.
at the references. I don't see it. It might have been removed.
Oh, by the way, those combine numbers I told you, at his pro day, he ran a 4.58 at 270.
I think that's why people are like, people who talk about, Arvell Reese and Vernon Golston, the Ohio State, athletic bust, is because of that. Like, he's a combine warrior, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the great final season, but I don't even think they played the same position. Golston was a defensive lineman at Ohio State, right?
He was a straight up 4.3.
Yeah. So what is the? Never mind. No, I won't open that can.
You're gonna work yourself up.
Yeah, no.
Jeff and Chad asked if the Vikings have a Zach Wilson and JJ McCarthy.
Ooh.
I think because of the fact that they had Sam Darnold in their building and they let him go and he immediately won a Super Bowl. McCarthy, assuming that he does not become something, which it certainly is trending in that direction, McCarthy is going to be looked at as one of the biggest busts in recent memory, just because of the context.
They technically traded up for him. They trade up 1 pick.
That's right. That's right. What did the Jets get? A third for that? A fourth? What did they get?
They got, and then they went back and took Fashanu.
Yeah. As Slow Runner said, Hackenberg was so bad that he never played in the NFL. Zach's definitely not that bad. Yeah. Hackenberg was a worse quarterback. Hackenberg didn't throw a touchdown in the AAF.
See, that's what's always tough about these lists is every time you ever see someone's like worst players in NFL or MLB,
right.
Like if you're one of the worst players, you don't play enough
Correct.
to get deemed one of the worst players.
Correct.
So that's always
there's guys in rookie mini camp every year that never get signed, or even if you sign a contract, it's like there's dudes in the 90-man roster who are on the roster in the summer for a week and then they're cut again.
Like Brady Cook is worse than Zach Wilson, but
do you think Brady Cook, I think Brady Cook's, first of all, I'll say it. My prediction is Brady Cook's probably in the UFL by this time next year. That's my take about Brady Cook. Do you think
he's a member of the Louisville Kings?
Maybe they are one of the teams. I can see it happening, but I fear he may not even be a starter in the UFL. I'm actually I'm not even sure he's starting caliber tier in the UFL.
I don't think he is. I think he's a good athlete.
That helps. That does help.
Again, Jets fans assured me they were watching tons of Armand Membu tape. You didn't realize, hey, this offense looks like ass, and Luther Burden isn't catching the ball. I wonder why.
I'm a little disappointed that Tim Boyle has not popped up in the UFL. If he was a true sicko, like I thought he was, that just wanted to play football, I figured he'd be playing for the Orlando Storm.
No, he gets NFL offers. Why would he even
somehow
consider?
He's
in high demand, but he hasn't. He wasn't. His last time in an NFL roster, I believe, was August of last year. So it's been a bit of a drought for him right now. There's still time.
Well, I will never forget this. Eight teams.
And listen, man, he the last team he was with was the Titans. Now they got Robert Saleh. Why not, man? Why not run it back? Run it back.
Brady Cook will be a St. Louis Battlehawk. He might sell tickets.
Well,
he might sell tickets at the Battlehawk Stadium. I don't even know if
Beck coaches for a new team now, right? Is it the Orlando that Anthony Beck?
Orlando.
I bet Brady Cook might go to Orlando.
They're doing a quarterback territorial thing there now, where if your quarterback was good at a certain school,
then maybe he does
the closest one there, then they put Cardale Jones is on the new Columbus
Aviators.
team.
Then maybe he does go to St. Louis. Brady Cook, because Missouri,
Dorian Thompson-Robinson got benched by Anthony Becht on the Orlando Storm. Is that true? That is
We've
so
talked
hilarious.
about DTR. He's one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen play in the NFL.
Oh, he's
just awful.
He's one of the worst. Yeah, he's worse than Brady Cook.
It's really bad.
I thought he'd be okay. Shows what I know.
Yeah, I remember watching the Hall of Fame game the first year of Rodgers. I was like, oh, this guy, he's kind of making some plays. And then I think after Watson went down, he was the first quarterback they got before they signed Flacco off the couch, and he was absolutely terrible.
Absolutely.
Remember DeShone Kizer?
Of course, I remember DeShone Kizer.
I remember when he
Tank
got
commander.
picked. Normally,
Yeah.
some coaches are a little honest. I remember when he got picked out of Notre Dame, Brian Kelly, I don't like him, but he was like, "Look, don't pick this guy. He's not ready," which you never hear about a quarterback.
There's
The Browns are like, "Yeah, okay,
looking
we'll be
at
fine."
that Orlando Storm roster, Mike. We do this like every time we end the stream. We end up going to like some random spring league team. Yeah.
Shitty defunct
What was
league,
the last
whatever.
week after the stream? We were looking at the Finnish football league. Like, isn't that what we were doing?
Oh, yeah.
we were over like
the spaghetti league
yeah,
it was
yeah,
called
yeah,
or
something like
something.
the second tier of Finnish American football is called like the Spaghetti League or some bullshit, or maybe that's the championship. I don't know. But
The
I'm
spaghetti
looking at the
bowl.
Orlando Storm roster right now, just for former Jets who might be playing under Becht. They got, you remember Jerome Cap? Do you remember that name?
Was he a
He was
receiver?
a receiver that they signed out of rookie minicamp a couple years ago, out of where was it? It was Kutztown, right? That's how you pronounce that university, the Kutztown.
Where Andre Reed's
Yeah,
from,
Kutztown. That what it is?
Is he the guy who did the Eminem rap on Hard
Yes,
Knocks?
he is. That is
Okay.
exactly who this is for Hard Knocks.
Who was the European guy that Adam Gase would cut every time?
Valentine Holmes.
No, was it Sandro?
That's a basketball player,
Something.
Sandro Mamu Kilashvili or whatever his name is.
No. Sandro Platzgummer. I
Oh,
think
he
was
wasn't
his
a
name.
Jet. Was he a Jet? It was a Giant.
Oh no,
He
you
was a
know who I'm
giant.
thinking of? Pete Guerrero.
Oh, Pete Guerrero.
Oh,
He was a Long
Monmouth,
Island
right?
guy.
Guerrero.
Pete Guerrero was a Long Island guy. No, I think I'm making that. I don't think I'm making that up.
Veteran Jet fan Denzel Mims is on the Dallas Renegades.
Beautiful.
Keep him away from
know.
improperly cooked salmon.
my
you know
God.
his stomach does not agree
Pete
with
Guerrero,
that.
I'm
and
sorry,
can-
Pete Guerrero was a Jersey guy. I went to Monmouth. There you go.
So on that note, we're going to call time on the Jet Press podcast. Charlie, thanks for joining in. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on social media and find your work? On the Jet Press?
You can find me on the Jet Press. You can find me on X, Charlie Bads 22. I'm on TikTok as well, Charlie Bads. And thanks for having me on, guys. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Justin, feel free to take us home.
It was a fun show, fellas. Fun show.
I still think it's Golston.
It's a fair
recency bias.
take. This is a great addition
We'll see what Twitter
of
thinks.
the Titan Press podcast. This was great. Sorry. I can't commit to it. I'm trying to commit to it, and it's so fucking stupid. I can't do it.
You gotta let a joke lie for a little bit to try to get a laugh.
It is. I see your face, and I see you how much you disapprove of what I'm doing, and I can't help but laugh. Like no, it's just
I just don't go boo. You're not fun. I don't do that.
You
but,
just
like,
internally being like, God, why the fuck is he doing this again? But anyway, good show, Charlie. Thank you for joining us as always. Thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMikeChannel. Follow Charlie on Twitter, as you said, Charlie Bads 22. 22 there. Charlie Bads 22. Follow me on Twitter, Justin D.
just think of Tony Adams if you ever want to remember them.
Yeah, is that really what we want to do? We're gonna remember Tony Adams' number in 10 years from now. We're gonna remember what that is. But anyway, follow me on Twitter, Justin D. Fried. Follow Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you to everybody today who not only
Austrian Jet
fan donated 20 membership or 20 gifted subs or memberships. What are they called? Memberships. That's what they're called.
Anthony Rufo with the super
MF2
chats.
donated 5 memberships. Anthony Rufo with all the super chats. We appreciate all the support, whether you guys are just tuning in or donating memberships or becoming a member yourself or commenting or liking or anything like that. It is always so much appreciated. Mean that from the bottom of our hearts, genuinely. We have some really fun stuff coming up, by the way, with the NFL draft. Nothing that we're going to reveal yet, but we have some plans for some fun stuff with the draft. So stay tuned for that. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano. That has been Charlie Baduini. We'll see you guys next time.
See you folks next week.